Well, good morning, all. I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome everyone this morning. Welcome to all members of council. Welcome also to our staff that'll provide us facts and information so we can make decisions in the best interest of both our permanent and seasonal residents of ACW. Welcome also to all members of the public that are joining this morning, and especially Dr. Kittmer, Mr. Hayden, and also to our foundation that are here today to present, and to all members of the media that will also be joining us. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof to indicate at this time of any agenda item that we have today? I would like to indicate 5.1. I have a conflict there as I'm on the board of directors of HHS, Huron Health Systems, that encompasses AMGH, and my wife Vanda is also on the fundraising committee. So I will be declaring a conflict of interest on 5.1. I have filed that with the clerk, and I will be passing the meeting over to our deputy mayor at that time to that agenda item. We have the minutes from the second day of June, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the approval of these minutes, please. And that is Councillor Snoblin and Deputy Mayor Vanstone, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby adopts the June 2nd, 2026 council meeting minutes as written. Are there any questions on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Open forum is an opportunity for any members of the public to make any comments that they would care to regarding any agenda item that we have today. Are there any members of the public that would like to make any comments at this time? Please, Mr. Nicholas, just identify your first and last name when you go to the microphone, and welcome.
Good morning. My name is Mike Nicholas. I am a farm property owner and full-time resident of ACW. I would like to speak to item 6.5 on your agenda. I am also, just to make full declaration, a director of the Sunset Community Foundation. Thank you, Mayor McNeil and Council, for the opportunity to speak to you once again about the Sunset Community Foundation proposal regarding the creation of an ACW Vitality Fund. Firstly, I would like to recognize the thoroughness of the analysis in the report prepared for Council by Treasurer Ellen McManus. The report succinctly provides the background information, financial impacts, and the options for Council's consideration, and we appreciate the work that she has put into the preparation of this report. Although the report correctly identifies the timeline, if contributions by ACW to the endowment model are limited to $50,000 per year, I would suggest that ACW's commitment to the Vitality Fund would create a significant base for philanthropic participation by the residents of our community, thereby growing the fund at a much faster pace. As an example, the South Huron Vitality Fund and related contributions have resulted in over $26,000 in distributions to nonprofit organizations in their community this year. Quite a significant accomplishment considering its creation in just 2019. The example and leadership of ACW Council in supporting the Vitality Fund for ACW would also ensure an accelerated growth in distribution to nonprofit organizations in ACW, thus achieving a significant endowment capital fund at on a much faster timeline. We recognize that community requirements for support, whether small or large requests, will most likely always exceed the municipal funds available for such support. Undoubtedly, Council is challenged annually in determining the allocation of these funds. The solution offered by the Sunset Community Foundation ACW Vitality Fund removes the burden of this process from Council and ACW staff. The ACW agreement with the Foundation would, in broad terms, define those areas of interest that the municipality wishes to support, such as initiatives that support children and youth, family and community, health and physical activity, or the environment. We also recognize that this request is coming to Council at a unique time in the municipal political cycle. While we hope that the long-term benefits of this Vitality Fund model have generated a compelling reason to proceed with an agreement with the Sunset Community Foundation. Should this council wish to defer the decision to future councils, we would still welcome a resolution by council that the Sunset Community Foundation ACW Vitality Fund proposal should be adopted prior to the establishment of future budgets. The creation of an ACW Vitality Fund would be a legacy of this council that would continue to grow and provide ongoing support to organizations in our community. We request your support of the motion proposed in item 6.5 of today's agenda. The hallmark of these types of endowment funds, as stated in the Sunset Community Foundation tagline, confirms the goal: for good, forever. Thank you very much for your attention and support.
Thank you very much for your comments, and we will have a further fulsome discussion on that under 6.5. Thank you, Mr. Nicholas. Is there any other members of the public that would like to make any comments at this time regarding any agenda item? Please go to the microphone and identify yourself, first and last name. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and councillors. I'm Mackenzie Deichley, and I would like to comment as well on agenda item 6.5, the Sunset Community Foundation proposal. I believe different perspectives will give you great community input. So with that, I believe community input and feedback are important and should be part of decisions like these. And that's why I'm here today sharing mine. Organizations and community groups here will be directly impacted if you do choose to enter into a few of the options of this agreement. I'm not sure this will positively affect or benefit all of them. I'm not going to get into the meat and bones of the potential agreement because I know you're all going to be discussing it later on. What I'm here to get at is the heart of it first. And what I think is between all of you, there's an incredible knowledge of the history and the happenings of the groups and organizations and the people that make ACW what it is. You serve on lots of these boards, and you enjoy events and programs within your community. This gives you firsthand insight into what your community needs and wants. And I think it allows you to make the best informed, fair, and thoughtful decisions when reviewing and giving out local grants. And I know it's a topic you care deeply about. You've spent a significant amount of time discussing it at the last budget meeting this year. But during those discussions, I never heard the council didn't want to be directly involved in supporting its community organizations through the current program you offer. In fact, I came away with the opposite impression, which was that you value being part of providing the funds to the groups and organizations here. The funding program you currently have, it builds connection and it offers strengthening relationships with your community partners. And I think that's really important. If you choose to enter into this agreement, I worry council will be giving away a little part of its voice. And in a way, that would also be giving away a small part of mine, because I elected you to represent me and make decisions just like this on behalf of my community. You're our voice for ACW, and I do hope that you choose to keep that voice at the center of funding decisions that help the people and groups here in ACW. So when you're discussing this today, please consider what role you want council to continue playing in supporting your community groups and organizations. I thank you for your time this morning, for hearing my thoughts and everyone else's, and I look forward to listening where this discussion leads later on in the meeting.
Thank you very much for your comments. Is there anyone else, any other members of the public that would care to make any comments regarding any agenda item at this time? Seeing none, I thank you for that, and I will turn the meeting over to the Deputy Mayor for item 5.1. Thank you.
Well, the mayor's gone. So anyways, thank you very much, everybody. At this time, we have a delegation from the MRI proposal. So, and it's Dr. Tiffany Kittmer and Dan Hayden. So if you guys want to come up to the podium here, and I don't know who's going first, but whoever, and we'll go from there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor and members of council and staff. My name is Dr. Tiffany Kittmer, and I really appreciate this opportunity to be here this morning alongside Dan Hayden here. We're here to tell you about and advocate for a significant undertaking that affects our broader community. As a doctor at the Goderich Hospital, I've seen many patients from all walks of life in all corners of ACW and Huron County and even beyond. When the Ontario government decided to expand the number of MRIs in the province to deal with the bottleneck that it is, and they opened up applications, I was thrilled to see Goderich be selected as a site for a new MRI because I know just how impactful this will be to our population. As an ACW resident myself since 2015 when I graduated, I know how important access to services can be, particularly during the winter season, which doesn't make sense to folks who haven't lived in this area. What do you mean the road's closed? And go ahead, Dan.
Yep, sure. Good morning, council and staff. Just a quick introduction of myself. Most of you know me from farming with my family near Port Albert, volunteering with Dungannon and Kingsbridge events, as well as sitting on the ACW Agricultural Property Standards Committee. I'm here as a Huron County resident, a neighbor, and as someone who believes in something important that affects the future of our community. It's time to step forward and help. We're here to talk about improving access to diagnostic healthcare for ACW residents through development of a first MRI service in Huron County. This is a bigger issue than one hospital and one municipality. It's about sustainability, fairness, and access to healthcare close to home. For many people, especially seniors, those with mobility challenges or families already under stress, travel to access diagnostic imaging is not a small inconvenience, it's a barrier to care. And when people are waiting for months for diagnostics, everything downstream is delayed answers, treatment, and peace of mind.
Next slide, please. Beyond the clear medical benefits of bringing MRI services to Huron County, what the Magnetic Moments campaign is, which is our fundraising efforts for this MRI, is really striving to change the significant inequity that exists in rural healthcare access. Having MRI technology closer to home would dramatically improve accessibility for our local residents, not only by reducing travel time, but also improving how quickly people can actually receive imaging. Right now, residents requiring an MRI are often traveling to centers such as London, Stratford, and Owen Sound. From Port Albert, that means an hour and 15 minutes each way. That's 2.5 hours of driving, weather permitting, never mind finding and paying for parking, the time of the test itself, and the fuel for the trip. Then we have to think of the wait times, which vary considerably depending on the site and the urgency level of the MRI request. We're good at getting urgent and emergent scans done, but the most recent statistics from January 2026 tell us that our lower urgency or priority 4 patients are waiting far longer than the target for the province of 28 days. Stratford is 68 days, London is 80 days at St. Joseph's Healthcare, 253 days at their University Hospital campus in London. That is so far from the mark. And if we can bring this MRI to Goderich, which we will, and we're asking for your support to do that, this is not only going to affect our residents, but also obviously the residents in London. And the spots there will open up as we treat some patients here locally. Next slide, please. So the Magnetic Moments campaign that we represent wants our residents to have improved healthcare access, faster answers, earlier treatment, and better quality of life. With the current access concerns, getting an MRI means a lot more than just going to a routine medical appointment. It can mean taking time off work, losing wages, arranging extended childcare, finding transportation or relying on someone else for a ride, spending an entire day traveling to and from appointments. Beyond the logistics, there is also the emotional and practical burden, particularly during winter months. Maybe you found yourself in this position wondering, will weather conditions make travel unsafe? If the roads are bad and we need to cancel, how much longer will we wait? After already waiting months, can we afford another delay? These intangible impacts are significant, but often overlooked when discussing rural healthcare access. On a personal note, I can share an example of treating a patient. She was pregnant and she had abdominal pain. We don't like to do radiation-based testing like CT scans like we normally do. We start with an ultrasound, but sometimes that ultrasound can't find the appendix. So this young woman had 3 young children at home under the age of 6 and had this situation that was an emergency. It was wintertime. She needed to arrange childcare because we needed an MRI. We had to send her to London. I had to talk to another doctor. She had to find somebody to watch the kids. She had to find somebody to go with her to London. She had to potentially have surgery at a different site if there was appendicitis. So she had to have somebody drive her. She couldn't just drive herself. So she needs somebody for her children, somebody for her. The roads weren't great. And it took more than 12 hours to get to that MRI diagnosis. And that's kind of in an urgent situation. But it just goes to show how complex the logistics are for folks up here when that access is so far away. And Dan also has a personal story about MRIs to share.
Sure. I'll keep my story brief due to the interest of time. But something you may not know about me is about 16 years ago, my oldest son, Carmen, when he was only 2, doctors and surgeons successfully removed a brain tumor. That was a life-changing experience for myself, to say the least. Carmen has had probably 15 MRIs, a few during the surgery, one before, one during, one immediately after, and then the days to follow, and then an annual MRI in his younger life, and now a semi-annual in his teenage life, and more to come. I tell you this story as I've seen firsthand how amazing the MRI technology is. For his surgery, it was one of the most important tools.
So had MRI services been closer to home, the experience would have been far more manageable and accessible for my patient and many others. And that's why the Magnetic Moments Capital Campaign wants to improve this, more timely access to diagnosis and treatment. Next slide. So the good news is that there is a solution, and it is real, practical, and achievable. The first MRI to be located in Huron County is going to be housed at the Alexandra Marine and General Hospital in Goderich. While the MRI will be physically located at AMGH, the impact of this project will truly be regional, particularly for residents throughout ACW who currently travel outside the county for MRI services, but also taking the pressure off backlogged lists in the regional queues. The project has already received provincial approval, and the target is to be operational by 2028. This is a significant advancement for healthcare access across the region. We also will be participating in a pooled referral base. So all of the requisitions for MRI in the region are going to go to a central booking office. And so our wait list, if we didn't have as much need for MRIs, they would get filled by people in surrounding regions. So this would also draw people to our region to use the MRI here. Next slide, please. To make this happen, the foundation has launched the Magnetic Moments Capital Campaign. We really hope you've heard about it. The fundraising goal is $6.5 million. And to date, we have raised, more recently, over $3.1 million. Next slide. We put this number up here to draw your attention to the fact that hospital equipment is funded by the community. It's not funded by the Ministry of Health. Those dollars go to the operating costs, but the costs of the actual equipment, that capital purchase, that's fundraising. Staffing the MRI unit, the general operating costs, that will be covered, but any piece of equipment over $1,000 in a hospital must be paid for through money raised by the community. It's entirely the responsibility of the community. That means that when we talk about an MRI, we're talking about local people, local organizations, and local governments working together to bring modern healthcare to this area to service our needs. This campaign is community-led, community-supported, and patient-centered. It reflects what rural communities do best. We come together when something matters.
Next slide, please. The slide's a little hard to read, but it's a breakdown of the budget. The MRI itself is around $2.3 million. The construction cost is around 2.9. Renovations to the existing site is around $750,000, and then the remaining is administrative and contingencies. Next slide, please. Community and economic benefits. Healthcare infrastructure is economic infrastructure. So there is some economic benefits to having a local MRI, including small businesses. Keeps healthcare dollars in the community. This means residents spend their money here instead of traveling and time costs for MRIs out of county. Workforce stability. Supports and engage workforce. Think of workplace injuries that require MRI diagnosis and treatment planning. Less time off, work waiting for diagnosis and treatment, and less time for medical travel. Growing population. makes our area more attractive. Healthcare access influences where people choose to live. Whether young families, working professionals, or retirees, these services are part of decision-making. Diagnostic tools are often a signal of modern healthcare and tied to physician recruitment as well. New residents are flocking to our area, many coming to live in their retirement years here. That means that more and more residents are in their period of lives with the highest need of healthcare services. Access to advanced diagnostics attracts physicians, supports specialist clinics, retains younger families, and signals growth and modernization. Healthcare access influences business investment, retirement, relocation decisions, and community growth. Look at the next, what we got here? Yeah, next slide, please, sorry. Someone has broke down in our committee has broke down the number. $6.5 million is a big deal, but like anything, if you break it down to smaller chunks, it makes things more manageable. If you think about if each individual in Huron County, each resident would need to contribute only $105.92 to reach the target for this campaign. This reach goes beyond our borders.
Sorry to interrupt. You got 30 seconds. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's skip ahead a slide. Yeah. So, yeah, municipal leadership really matters. And we'll go to the ask. So we are asking for $250,000 over 5 years. We're looking for you to partner in advocacy as a municipal partner. And we wanted to end on the last slide with the pictures. Yeah. So this just shows you an example of the technology, how powerful it is at showing every vessel, every nerve. And this is what we're bringing to Huron County for the very first time. We believe that ACW belongs on the leaderboard of donors and belongs as part of this project. We have been going to other municipalities as well and finding their support significant. And we hope that you will carefully consider this and what it means. And we would love for you to be a key champion of this campaign. Thanks for your time and consideration. We'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Tiffany and Dan. Very good, nice informative speech. And I will turn it over now to council for questions. Evan, would you have a question for them?
Thank you. Just a question on the funding. I have no issue with that request. I think it's very important for the area. Just interested for other municipalities in the county. Are you reaching out to all 9 lower tier in the town of Goderich? And how did you come up with that 250,000 for ACW?
So far we have approached Goderich first. Makes no sense. That's sort of where it's located. But we are also obviously spreading out the wider net. This is the first MRI and only MRI to be in Huron County. So far we have come to Central Huron, Blue Water, ACW, and we're casting the net broadly here.
Yes, Anita, please.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Very informative. I probably would have liked to have seen the whole amount, but you got right to the crux of it at 250,000 over 5 years. I sort of felt like I was on Dragon's Den for a second, but regardless. So I wondered if you could go back to the slide that points what or breaks down, I guess, what the cost of it is. I think there was 2.9 in.
Yeah.
If you could explain that just a little bit further in depth, because when you're raising 6.5 million, you want to kind of know where do you get that 6.5 million from?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question. So the hospital does not have space for the MRI right now. It's not a small machine. It's something that needs an entire suite to be built on. And that's something that needs to be designed very specifically. So until you even had the vendor chosen, you couldn't have the architects design the room because it is company specific. So right now we have selected the vendor. We're about to have the architects create the design. It's going to be located on the northwest part of the hospital. And where it's going to be located is going to displace some departments that are there, like our IT department, some of the change rooms for the staff. And so those are going to need to go into another renovated space. The capital campaign was going to be, if we had outsourced it to an outside company to do a capital campaign, it was going to be $900,000. So we managed to get the AMGH Foundation to split their time between the regular hospital fundraising and this to reduce that number down to the $375,000 that you see there for salaries for a 2-year campaign for the staff that work there. And that's kind of between the construction and the MRI machine, how that $6.5 million number came to be.
If I might
Yes.
go on?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I've got quite a few questions that kind of lead around that. So technology moves very, very quickly these days. So is there a sense of how long this MRI will stay current in terms of technology? I know different machines, computers, cell phones, they're passé in 5 years. Is that going to be the case with this?
So the nice thing about this technology is that the hardware doesn't change very much. It's the software that changes and where the upgrades happen. The lifespan of an MRI depends on the amount of use that it's getting. Some departments run them, as you know, in the city, you might have a 2 a.m. appointment. Some apartments are running them 24/7. You don't get as much lifespan out of an MRI there. Our starting point in the ministry has guaranteed funding Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. So 8 hours a day for 5 days a week is the starting point. We may expand that to 16 hours a day if things are going well. But we would get it probably at the more kind of longer end of the lifespan of MRI, which would be about 12 years. And like I said, the hardware doesn't change very much. The software can be the updates, and we've seen that for some of the CT scan based imaging and so on. Yeah.
And that kind of leads into my next question.
Go ahead.
I hate to keep monopolizing this, but so if it's going to be roughly 8 to 4 for now, and then possibly increasing as time goes on, that may require more staff. And being on other boards that I'm on, I know that there's a challenge in terms of finding staff. Is this going to be a challenge, like another challenge for AMGH in terms of trying to find people that are going to be able to operate this specialized machine? And then further out, if using that machine results in, a diagnosis of some sort where the patient now is admitted to hospital, that's another set of staff as well. Do you look that far out at all, or at this point, are you just looking at the fundraising?
So, I mean, obviously we're not part of the hospital administration team, we're the fundraising team, but I can answer some of your questions. In terms of MRI, so obviously the province has announced this, and schools who teach MRI technician jobs are very well aware that there will be 49 new machines in the province and there's more jobs going on. Goderich is a great place to live. ACW is a great place to live and commute into work. I don't think that the location of the MRI is going to be too terrible to recruit for. And we actually have some internal applicants that are interested in training to run the MRI. So our department's very enthusiastic. The radiologists, all 23 of them, put their signature that they were interested and approved this as a site for MRI. So it's going to increase their workload, but they're on board. And so in terms of staffing, it's a pretty cushy job, 8 to 4. A lot of healthcare jobs are, shift work, on-call hours. MRI, that should be much easier to recruit for. And I think that's why you see some internal candidates who want to do that. Yeah, so I would say it's kind of an easier area to recruit to.
One final question, if I may. So I believe I've read or acknowledged that the MRIU campaign is 2 years. Is that right? To raise the 6.5 million? So what happens if there's a shortfall after the 2 years and you don't raise the money? What happens then?
Yeah. So we're already we're about halfway through our target, and we're only a quarter way through our campaign. So I'm very confident that we will get there. However, this is going ahead whether or not the funds are in place as we get started. Like the architects are doing the plans over the fall, we're shovels in the ground in the spring. This is going ahead, and we are kind of working on this as a side. We would have to take out a loan if we did not have the funds to to pay for things as we went. Obviously, we don't want to be spending a lot of money on interest. We want all the money to go towards the project, which is why we're working really hard. We know that the AMGH Foundation also is in a good financial position starting into this. So they do have some funds on reserve that can be used to float as we continue to accept the pledges that can be over 5 years. So we're campaigning for 2, but we're accepting pledges that go up to 5 years in duration so that people can, spread out their giving and obviously give a bit more generously that way. And going back to one of your questions I didn't catch the answer to yet was in terms of generating more work, most of the MRIs that are done are outpatient MRIs. So a lot of these are going to be MRIs of the rotator cuff, what's going on with the rotator cuff, what's going on with the joints. And so the scans will happen a bit sooner, and then the specialist referrals can go off a bit sooner. But that outpatient workload won't change for our hospital. It will not increase our workloads. It will actually decrease our workloads and help our staffing because instead of having to send a nurse to Stratford with a patient to get the MRI of the brain and bring them back and have to work short-staffed or call somebody in to cover that nurse's position, that patient just stays in our building and they get their MRI and they go back to their bed, just like they go down for an ultrasound or an echo and go back up to their bed. So that really takes a lot of the pressure off of our nursing staff, which is huge.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Any other questions of Dan? We have one more.
I have a question for staff, if that's
Yeah.
okay. I guess to the CAO and the treasurer, what does this 250,000 over 5 years look like in terms of our budget?
I would say if council are interested in looking how this works, I think it's fair that we could bring back a report of council requests and how we would fundraise this or not fundraise this, but fund this over the next 5 years.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? What?
Thanks, Bill. So I think I heard you say this machine's only good for 12 years. Is that right? So in another 12 years, you'll have to fundraise for another one?
Yeah, and you can see that the cost of the actual machine is less than half of the campaign, so it would be a much smaller campaign at that point.
So what is the lifespan of a X-ray or a CT scanner? It's the same or?
Off the top of my head, I can't really tell you, but yeah.
So there are
Kimberly did the CT scan campaign, so she knows.
12 years then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Standard.
Okay, any other questions that we have? I can maybe just ask you one, and maybe not fair, but on an 8 to 4 shift, how many people would we get through there?
About 12. So MRI scans are magnetic resonance. They don't involve any radiation. They use really powerful magnets to cause resonance in the water molecules in our bodies. And to actually get those scans is a much longer process. So some of the scans are actually 45 minutes to an hour duration. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. All right, Council, we have been presented this, and they've done a very good job for us. And the ask is $250,000 over 5 years. So how do we want to approach this? Do I have it? Curtis, please?
Yeah, I'm in full support of this, but like suggested by Mark, I would like to see staff come back with a report of our options for how we can fund this, but I fully support it nonetheless.
Okay, and will you make that a motion, please?
Absolutely.
Do I have a seconder for that? Anita? Is everybody in favor of that, a staff report on this? It's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dan. Tiffany?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll be just a second and our mayor will be back.
So now on our agenda is 6.1, and that is the Treasury Department and the payment of the current accounts. And I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these, please. And that is Councillor Blake moves, seconded by Councillor Hickey, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby authorizes the payment of the June 2026 accounts as presented. Do we have any questions on any of these numbers? Councillor Snowblin first, please.
Thank you very much. I do. I just have to get to it if you don't give me a second to get to it. I believe it was on page 7. The property standards, payment for $1,872. I wonder if staff could give a better description of what that was for?
Okay, thank you. Please, Clerk Witherspoon.
That was a property standards expense to bring a property into compliance, which has been invoiced to the property.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions on these? If not, we have a motion that's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much. 6.2 is the payment of the previous month's accounts, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this, please. Deputy Mayor Vanstone moves, Councillor Hickey seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby approves a payment of the May 2026 accounts in the amount of $807,633.35. Do we have any questions on any of these numbers? If not, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.3 is the summary revenue/expenditure reports, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Blake moves, seconded by Councillor Forrester, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council adopts the summary revenue/expenditure reports as written for the Township, Lucknow and District Medical Center, and the Lucknow and District Recreation from January to May of 2026. Do we have any questions on any of these numbers? If not, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. 6.4 is the Town of Goderich joint use. We had a presentation to council a few months ago on this. We have a report that has been prepared for us by our very capable treasurer, Ellen McManus, and I will open it up to council for comments on this, and I'll go first to Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to thank staff for this report. I think it's a very good report, and especially how it breaks down each individual request. I think it's an excellent breakdown of it. And when the time comes, if we have a vote on it, I hope we split it up with each request because I cannot support all together. At the bottom of page 1 of the report, it was commented the town of Goderich has indicated that similar discussions are taking place. To my knowledge, those other municipalities said no. So I just want to say that up front, that I don't think we should be pressured into going into something. That's been the opinion of other municipalities. Going on to section page 2, the breakdown of the rec services. We've contributed $10,000 since 2000, $10,000 annually since 2000. And it says in the report for a broad range of ACW residents have the benefit from a broad range, including beaches. Well, a couple years ago, the town of Goderich started charging me to park at the beach. So I don't think that was really a benefit of that $10,000. Trails, I think they come to us, I think we have more trails. And as far as the benefit of the rec center, when my kids were small and we were trying to sign up for programs, we were always put at the back of the line, and town people got put into programs first. And if there was space, there was room for our kids. That might have changed since then. And if there is, I know CAO Hallahan's here and she might be able to answer that question. But for contributing $10,000, I don't see a benefit that anybody from ACW has received in giving that to the town over the past few years. As far as the medical center, I agree. It's theirs, like they're the tenant, the doctors are they're the owners and the doctors are the tenants. And I agree with the future project infrastructure, same as we just heard right now with MRI. If we deal with that with this or not, the McKay Center, I agree totally with the comments that it's private operated, independently operated, the McKay Center, so I don't see the funding there. As far as the airport, in the report, when CAO Hallahan was here before, she mentioned about the orange ambulance and the benefits of that to community, and I agree with that totally. In this report, it talks about the Orange, the Royal Canadian Air Force, the Canadian Coast Guard, and the Ontario Provincial Police operations that operate at the airport. And I don't remember hearing anything about those operations in the reports from CEO Hallahan when she was here before. It was specifically about the Orange. And I have no issue with supporting that part of the Orange part of the airport, to have a landing pad and services to have that available to the community. But I'm not familiar enough with this, these other operations that happen there and if they benefit us or what even that happens. So I don't know if CEO Hallahan could answer any of those questions, if that's allowed or not, but those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I'm going to open it up to council again for further questions on this. And we do need to come to a decision on this, whatever that is. So does council have any other comments or questions on this? I think it's, oh, Councillor Forster, please.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. So the annual reserve fund contribution, is that on top of the 72.5? That's on the first page there.
Would
That
you-
we'd be needing to pay, or?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? That was broken up in sentences.
Okay, so the annual reserve fund contribution, is that on top of the 72.5 that we'd be paying in 2026?
I'll let Ellen answer. That's her question, but her report, but I would say yes, but I'm gonna let Ellen answer that.
Treasurer Ellen, please.
So on page 1, that is a summary of the requests from the town of Goderich. It's not the recommendation from staff. It's just that's a summary of the ask. So we're looking to council for direction on how you'd like to proceed. But yes, the request is, as presented from the town of Goderich, was for a operating cost contribution and then also a contribution for capital future costs.
So the reserve fund, how much would that be costing per year? Do you have a figure, or?
CAO, please.
As Ellen indicated, that was their recommendation. Ellen hasn't spoken that much about the reserve funds. The municipality can look after their own reserves. If we choose to put money in reserves, that's our decision as ACW council. They can make those decisions. Goderich may suggest to us that we can put money in reserves, but that's a suggestion only. But there, what I understand from Ellen's report is 108,000 was of ask for Goderich. However, in Ellen's report, and I can't refer to what section it is, and maybe Ellen can help me out when she talks about the reserves in the report.
Okay, Ellen, please.
Yeah, that's on the end of page 2. And there's no recommendation for an annual amount. That's, again, we're looking to council for direction, and that could be addressed as part of the annual budget. We don't need to make a decision necessarily today, but we're looking to council for their level of support that you wish to proceed with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I looked this over, and to be honest with you, I'm not in favor of probably anything on here right now because I've talked to a bunch of our constituents in ACW, and a lot of them aren't in favor of this. Some are. I think we should be looking after the fact that, yes, if our people are using the facilities of another municipality, we should be looking at paying our share of this and to enhance our sports and everything else. But like, for instance, the airport. As far as I'm concerned, the airport should be sold to a private individual and let them make money out of it. And then we rent back a space for let the helicopter land on it, because I think you can take a look at Wingham, and when Wingham was turned over to a private enterprise, that airport started doing well, making money, and you know, there was a drive behind it. As far as our sports and stuff go, I know there's a lot of people that come out and enjoy ACW as a recreational site. So I believe there's a whole lot of things here. And another thing, I think this should be the new council, because as Alan said, it won't be coming into effect until budget time anyways. So at budget time, that will be the new council that looks at this. And I think they should really look at it very seriously, because if we need to give some money to them, we should. But if we don't need to give some money to them, I don't want to just give money to the town of Goderich because they want to bring their taxes down and ours up. So I think we need to look into a lot more than we have. So that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Snowblin, please.
Thank you very much. I echo some of Deputy Mayor's comments about the airport. I do believe that privatization could make sense in the long term. Upgrading that airport's pretty expensive. And I think if there was somebody that privatized that, it might be a good thing. I know that there's been some success down in Chatham-Kent as well on privatizing their airport. And the medical center, although I don't want to leave the airport for a second, because I do believe that we have a responsibility to our residents in terms of healthcare. And when you have even the OPP, the Coast Guard, and Orange that are using our airport, there is a sense of responsibility that we need to address in terms of ensuring that they have a place to land when we do need those services. And it shouldn't be all on Goderich to sustain that. It should be on the surrounding area to support Orange, OPP, Coast Guard. And I feel the same way about the medical center. The medical center, it draws, it's on here somewhere, about 3,000 people, which represents about half of our municipality. And I think that there's a responsibility to our council to ensure that we do support that medical center. We support the Wingham one to a certain degree. So I think that I would be in favor of that. In terms of the rec center and recreational services, that's a nice to have in terms of when you have to make a decision between healthcare, emergency services, recreational services are nice to have, as well as the McKay Center. And that's the one I have the most trouble with, because I could be wrong, but it seems to me there's a group of people that like to go to the Dungannon Hall, the Ben Miller Hall, the Legion, the McKay Center. They make their rounds. Tuesdays is euchre at Ben Miller, and Wednesdays is something else at the Legion, and they follow. They go around and they make their rounds. So for one municipality to support another municipality, I think it's a wash. I think it comes out in the wash somehow. But I would be interested in having some decision made on the medical center and the airport before the next council comes in, because we have the background. A new council coming in, we could have, potentially we could have 7 new people at the table. And I don't think that that's a responsible thing to do for this council, to leave that for potentially 7 new people to make that decision. This is a decision that can't really be put out 2 years to another council to come up to speed on everything. So I think it is incumbent on us to give some direction to the new council. That's all I have to say.
Okay, so just to follow up on that train of thought, so your Councillor Snowblin, are you suggesting that it would be appropriate for us to support the Maitland Recreation Center or not? Or are you thinking the medical clinic?
No, I'm thinking the medical clinic.
Okay.
And what I'm suggesting is that this council has a further discussion on whether or not we're going to go forward with making some kind of commitment for the new council coming in, or alternatively, as Deputy Mayor said, leave this for another council to make the decision.
Yeah, and I concur with those comments 100%. I think that we're to pass this on to the next council is maybe shirking our responsibilities with the knowledge we have of the situation. You know, a suggestion would be to support the medical center and the airport, and then institute CPI on an ongoing basis. And that may be an appropriate way to do it. CAO, please.
I just want to clarify, and Ellen, you correct me if I'm wrong, with respect to the Maitland Medical Center, there is no annual contributions that's recommended towards the operating cost of the Maitland Valley Medical Center because it's raising enough money to do that. All it is asking for us as an ACW to put money in reserve. So in Ellen's last comment, she goes, staff recognize the importance of healthcare and recommend that council establish a township held reserve for future healthcare infrastructure projects. So if something major has to happen to that facility, we have money in reserves and council would deal with that as a project by project basis, as opposed to contributing to any of their annual costs. I just want to clarify that there's no money being asked for the annual operating.
Yep, you're absolutely correct on that. Ellen, you're good with that? Okay, so, and I agree with Councillor Snowden, we have a responsibility as far as like 5,000 for the airport is pretty insignificant to the overall cost of that, and we have a responsibility to our residents to provide that opportunity, whether it is Orange Ambulance or other activities for our residents. So how would council like to proceed with this? Councillor Snowden, please.
I'm just going off the top of my head, so I'll count on staff to help me articulate it and wordsmith it, but I would be in favor of this council prepare or having staff prepare a reserve schedule for the Maitland Valley Medical Center to address the issues that were outlined in the report, namely future healthcare infrastructure projects. And I would also support that this council continue with the $5,000 annually towards the Goderich Regional Airport, and in an effort to help address the cost factors in terms of emergency and medical airplanes, helicopters coming in that would assist our residents.
Yep, perfect. CAO, please.
I just want to clarify, we are not contributing any money to the airport now. I just want to clarify that. It made it sound like we were contributing, we have not.
Okay, then we'll go with the, as a new budget item, then $5,000 annually.
Okay, thanks. Clerk, please.
So
Is that, okay? Yep, that's
That, I would move that.
okay, so moved by
Councillor Snowden. Do we have a seconder for this? A seconder? Seeing not, motion fails. Okay, further discussion, please. We need some direction, Deputy Mayor.
I have a question. The reserve fund, what is the, and it may be in there and I missed it, but what is the want for per year? Is it $5,000? Is it $1,000? Is it $10,000? How much do we put away or we suggest? Because and that was my second question, and maybe somebody can answer that as well. So if we went ahead with what Anita said and passed this, then that would be this year, but a new council then could stop this in another year. Am I right on that?
Councillor Snowden, please.
Had someone seconded the motion, those questions I feel could have been answered.
Well, that can
You know, but I think one of the questions would be like, what does the reserve schedule look like? Is it 5,000 a year? Is it 10,000 a year? Is it 20,000 a year towards the Maitland Valley Medical Center, towards infrastructure? That would be up to staff, I think, to come to the next council at budget with what that schedule might look like, or we could direct staff to bring it back for approval by this council, so the next council has that. That was what I had hoped would happen, that someone would have seconded that motion, so we could answer those questions and perhaps make a decision based on that or somewhat different than that.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I asked a question and I'd like an answer to those two questions, please.
Treasurer, please.
So the proposal from the town of Goderich, the annual reserve fund contribution for the Maitland Valley Medical Center is $21,000. Again, that would be contributing to ACW's reserve, not directly contributing to the town of Goderich. If council is in support of creating a reserve fund for this particular item, the reserve fund can be created this year if council decides on an amount, and that's up to council, but and council can set up conditions of that reserve that the next council may or may not change, but like you could establish a reserve today, and it doesn't necessarily have to wait till next budget. It would just be transferring from our existing reserves to a new reserve and earmarking it for this purpose.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question, Deputy Mayor? Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you. Can we split this up into two motions and two discussions? Because we're talking two separate issues here. We're talking about the medical clinic and the airport. So if we could just talk about the medical clinic right now, and we'll bring the airport up again after. Thank you.
Okay, and would you like to make a motion on the medical center?
I would make a motion to bring back information on the reserve, on starting a reserve for the medical center.
And do you have a level that you would suggest?
I don't know if that should be part of a staff report, if 21,000 is acceptable amount to start, or how we go about it, how we decide as a council to put it aside if it's our fund being put in as a reserve. So I would like a staff report to be brought back on that, please.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yep. So would you like to put that in as a motion?
I make that as a motion.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Snoblin seconds. Further discussion on this? Councillor Snoblin, please.
Well, you're asking for a staff report on a staff report, really. So I feel like it's getting deferred without some kind of a dollar amount tied to it. I would suggest that, I guess question first before I make a suggestion to the treasurer. Can we take money out of one reserve? If we made it if we made a reserve for medical infrastructure projects, can we take money from another reserve to put that in, or do we have to find that money in the budget in March?
Thanks for the question. Alan, please.
Yeah, you can absolutely create a new reserve from our existing general reserve, provided it's not a restricted reserve. So our general surplus reserve would be a great example of, there's funds there. You could take $21,000, $50,000 and earmark it for a different purpose.
Okay, please follow up.
Follow up. I would be more comfortable with the motion if it gave a level of what that dollar amount might look like and where you expect that reserve to come from, either from another reserve, the general reserve, or if it's going to be found in the budget at March.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hickey, please.
Yeah, and for clarification, I think that 21,000 came as a suggestion from the town of Goderich, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why I'm saying in a report, I know it's a report of a report, but have our staff say what would be an acceptable amount to put in. Is that too high? Is that too low? And where's it coming from? So that's why I'm asking for our own report to see if that 21,000 is acceptable. Should it be more? Should it be less?
Okay, thank you for that. CEO, please.
Keep in mind, ACW staff have no idea what's going on at the medical center and what infrastructure changes are coming down the pipe. So we'd have to rely on Goderich to come up to prove to us what that $21,000 means. Like they may know what's going in. So it's just a number because we don't know. And I assume when it does come to us, as Ellen referred to in the report, be dealt with at a case by case basis. I think council, if they're receptive, we can put whatever dollar amount you want in that budget into the transfer into reserves. But also keep in mind that we can call it the Maitland Valley Medical Center Infrastructure Reserve Fund, but at the end of the day, council at any time can change their mind and make that paving X amount of roads budget. We don't have to commit to that because it's not committed to that. We can change the description of it at a time and change whatever decision you want with that money. So the dollar amount just needs to be determined. But Ellen can bring back a report. I'm sure she could, seeing if we can even fund the 21,000. And it's hard to know whether you can fund that or not until we come to the budget in 2027. So I think I got my point across. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Hickey?
As the mover of the motion, can I do an amendment to it?
Let's do a friendly amendment.
Okay, I appreciate the comments by the CAO. I'll stick with the 21,000 for us to contribute to start the fund.
Okay, so how about request staff? So how about that council establish a reserve fund for the Maitland Valley Medical Center in the amount of $21,000?
Good.
You're good, and the seconder is,
Is the seconder in support of that?
okay, thank you.
Okay, and CAO, please?
I just want to clarify one more thing. If this is the only item that we are dealing with the town of Goderich, we will not need to enter into an agreement with town of Goderich because this is something that we're doing at this in-house. So I just want to clarify that because it wouldn't be in a formal agreement. If we start contributing X amount of dollars to them, yes, I'd love to have a formal agreement.
Yeah, and the intent was one item at a time to break it down into sizable bites. Councillor Snowden, please.
Question to the mover. Do you see this as an annual contribution to this reserve? And if so, would you be willing to put that in your motion?
Yes, the request, well, the suggestion I would say from the town of Goderich was annual reserve contribution 21,000. So yes, annual contribution into our internal reserve fund marked for the medical center.
Okay,
Is that in the motion, annual?
It's not in the motion. Would you like it to be?
would the mover like that in the motion?
Yes, please.
And would the seconder be in support of that?
Thank you.
So would you read that motion again with the adjustments, please?
That Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council establish a reserve fund for the Maitland Valley Medical Center in the amount of $21,000 annually.
Okay, thank you. CAO, please.
I didn't hear the first part. You said there you'll prepare a report, right? This isn't.
No.
Oh, we're establishing the reserve fund, and we don't have a report coming back. We're establishing the reserve. Sorry, I just need a clarification in case some people are thinking the same way. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Snowden, please.
Question to the mover. Did you say where you wanted the reserve to come out of? Either the general reserve or out of the general tax base?
CAO, please.
I think that's up to the future council for 2027 to make decision whether they fund it through the general taxation or transfer from reserves.
Fair enough.
I think this, if we're deciding today on whether we're going to contribute into our own reserve fund an X amount of dollars to 21,000, whatever it may be, that's all we're going to decide today.
Sounds fair. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this? Councillor Forster, please.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. I have no problem with the reserve fund, but was there a reserve fund for the Lucknow Medical Center? Or did that just come out of our year's budget when we did all that work there?
I don't have that information in front of me right now. I could guess, but I don't like guessing.
Alan, please.
There is a reserve for the medical center. It's a capital reserve for capital projects, and I believe it's the balance of, there was some leftover funds from the renovation a few years ago, and that's a joint reserve with the Huron-Kinloss. Yeah. Oh, you want to know the amount? Or
I'd be careful because it is a joint reserve fund, and
But was there a reserve fund before all them renovations happened? No, that was my question.
The answer then, so we are getting into the weeds and off topic, but to answer your question quickly is a lot of that was fundraised.
Mhm.
So that was a lot of fundraising going on there.
So like, say that, why can't they fundraise for that? Like, that was my next question. Like, I know there was a lot of fundraising went on there. Like, I don't know what Godrich needs. I don't use it, so I have no idea. So that's just my thoughts on it.
Okay. Clerk, you have a comment for Deputy Mayor?
Just on that project, I think I don't think we're comparing the same issue here. That was a fundraising project. They did a whole renovation. They've fundraised the furnishings for it. I think that I don't think we're comparing the same issue.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I don't know who this question could go to, but who owns the Lucknow one? Do we own that, or do we just donate money to it? Because that would make an awful difference as to Godrich as well.
CAO, please.
It's owned by ACW and here in Kinloss.
Jointly. Yes, please follow up.
Yeah, and so that makes a whole lot of difference to me because if we don't own this, we're just donating money to it, then I'd have a hard time doing that because, we own the one up there, so we maintain it, we keep it up, and then the doctors rent it from us. They then charge the Ontario government for use and all that kind of stuff. So I think we should be looking at the same thing here. So if the town of Godrich owns this place, then why are we giving them money? So anyway, so maybe someone can answer that or maybe not.
Okay, Ellen, please.
So the request is not for contribution directly to the town of Goderich today. This is in anticipation that somewhere in the future, town of Goderich is going to return to ACW council and say, look, we're expanding our facility. We need more doctors. We have no space. Over 3,000 ACW residents use this facility. Will you consider contributing to the renovation or the expansion? By creating a reserve when this request comes, it may or may not happen. Then ACW says, oh, look, we have funds set aside for this project. It makes that decision a bit easier in the future. So if the project doesn't happen, the funds remain with ACW council to do whatever you want to do with it.
Yes, and as you indicated, I think it is estimated that 53% of our residents utilize the Godrich facility. Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, and believe me, I believe we need all the healthcare we can for everybody's residents, and I'm not against that. But if we do this, I would strongly say that, all right, if we do have a reserve, well, then why don't we have the reserve to help inside the building? Like, the town of Godrich owns the building and the land, all right? So let them look after that. And if they're doing say they need an x-ray machine in there, I'm not all sure what's all in that building, but then our money should go towards that. Like, so it's almost like a donation, because why would we build a building that somebody else is getting the money for? So anyways, that was my thought. I don't have a problem with putting the money away. I think we should have some money put away, but I just don't know how I can live with the fact that it's going to the building. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's time that we make a decision on this. So that it has been suggested, would you like to reread the motion just so we're all clear on it, and then we're going to have a vote?
Moved by Councillor Hickey, seconded by Councillor Snowblin, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council establish a reserve fund for the Maitland Valley Medical Center in the amount of $21,000 annually.
Right on. We're all clear? All in favor of the motion is read. Opposed? Motion fails. How do we want to proceed?
Move on to the next part.
Okay. Maitland Rec Center, do we want to do anything with that? The McKay Center for the Senior, I'm sorry, Councillor Blake, please.
Yeah, just reading through the report and just looking for clarification if I was wrong. It says that we donate $10,000 to recreation annually, but there's no formal agreement. Would now be a good time that we look into a formal agreement with that, or is that something we're liking to continue? It looks like we've been doing it for some time already.
Okay, and I will defer to our staff for that, please. Ellen?
So staff is recommending that we continue, if council wishes to continue to support Goderich for recreation services, that it be continued just as a donation rather than a formal agreement. The recommendation from staff is that the allocation of costs through a joint use agreement based on membership data isn't necessarily appropriate, and keeping it general, just recognizing that Goderich does provide services to HW residents. Here's a honorary amount, just in good faith.
Simple. You okay with that?
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Deputy Mayor?
If that $10,000, we've never ever done anything with it, could we not have that so that it was $10,000 and if we go up 2% a year or something like that, there should be an increase every year and it doesn't have to be much, but I think we should support it in some way, and I'd like to see something put on that it's an increase every year of whatever.
So you're thinking the 10,000 and CPI applied to that?
Yes, I think there should be well, it's almost like our halls, like I sit in the Auburn Hall and we get, every year we add 2% or 1.5% or whatever it is to keep it current with what's going on. So, but that's just my thought, and I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Would you like to make a motion on that, that the 10,000 annually with the CPI applied to that?
And, but first, Councillor Blake had already brought up making an agreement on the 10,000, so I lean to him to see what he says.
Councillor Blake, please.
Yeah, thank you. I was just looking for clarification if staff thought it would be appropriate to make an agreement, but after Alan's explanation, I'm content with the $10,000 with the donation the way it is as it sits. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Snowden, please.
I think when Councillor Hickey asked if we could separate these items, I thought that was a really good idea, but as the discussion progresses, it almost makes me wonder if we shouldn't be looking at a reserve fund that encapsulates not just these 4 items, but other items that the town of Goderich might have. And don't want to make it sound like we're putting money in a reserve to support the town of Goderich. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that a reserve, when someone like the town of Goderich, like the township of Huron-Kinloss, like whatever municipality, pick one, has a request that comes under the heading of healthcare, recreation, emergency services, and seniors, senior, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, that we can look at that reserve fund, and if we contribute $20,000, and I'm pulling a number out of a hat, I'm not suggesting 20,000, but say we did $20,000 a year, and it goes into that sort of general reserve like Ellen suggested, then every time there's a request, that council at the time can look at it and look at what's in that reserve and decide what they want to support. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, if you understand where I'm coming from.
Okay, thank you for that suggestion. Councillor Blake, please.
Yeah, thank you. Respectfully, I totally understand where you're coming from. I think earmarking different reserves for different projects, at the end of the day, they're all in the township's reserve nonetheless. And I think if we keep healthy reserves and we're able to pitch in when it's our time to pitch in, I think that's what's most important. This is my opinion. I think going through and earmarking different areas for these reserves to be dedicated to, I think it's kind of here nor there, just my opinion.
Okay, so how we're, Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you. I struggle with this increase that's being suggested. I'm not sure what we're getting for this. First of all, to 10,000 already. I live over on the corner. My kids played sports in Blythe, broomball and hockey. We paid for that. There's no cross-border deal for their contribution. My kids play ball in Centre Huron. There's no cross borders. There's people that swim up in Wingham or maybe Kincardine or whatever the issue is. And as it was in the report, the beaches and stuff, as I said, we have to pay to park there now. in the rec center, in the past, we've been put at the bottom of the list. So I'm not sure the advantages that we're getting for the 10,000, let alone inflating it by 2% every year. So I cannot support this motion. Thank you.
Okay, and we just have a discussion so far. There has not been a motion, however. What would we like to do with this? Do you have any direction? Deputy Mayor?
Yes, after listening to all this, and I think this is really great. That's what the council is all about. We got to discuss things so we know what we're doing. And I'd like to see it just left at the $10,000 at this point in time and march on. Thank you.
Okay, we have a,
I can make that.
okay, that is a motion. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Blake. Further discussion? You're good? Clerk, please.
That Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council continue to support as a general contribution for recreation services to the town of Goderich in the amount of $10,000 annually.
Okay, we're all clear on the motion? All in favor of the motion as read? Opposed? Defeated. So it's the status quo. Councillor Forster?
Okay, thank you, Glenn. So what they're asking is, it's actually a drop in the bucket what we're giving HK, but I do have a problem with that getting bumped to the back of the line. I don't know if that still happens.
No idea.
That's my issue with that 50 grand, but,
Okay,
and I guess if I live in the north end, if the south end don't want it, then so be it, I guess.
okay, fair enough. So Councillor Snowden, please.
I appreciate where you're coming from, Wayne and Evan, in terms of the recreation and how you feel that you've been sidelined. But I think what we have to look at is we have to look at what is best for ACW, not what's best for me and my family, but what's best for all of the residents. And because you live on the north end, there's lots of people that live on the south end, and there's lots of people that live in the middle, and there's lots of people that live, I'm sure, on the north end that still come to Goderich to go to the doctor, go to McKay Center, those kind of things. So I think we need to keep an open mind and not be biased about our own situations.
Yep.
Can I?
Yep, please.
But it was the back of the line that I have the issue with, but I know Lucknow, I don't think they do that, but well, I know they have to let everybody in to get teams and stuff, but that's my problem with that.
Okay, I think we need to move on with this. Support for the McKay Center for Seniors. Is there any interest in that? I don't see a lot. And what about the Goderich Airport at 5,000 for medical services for residents? Councillor Snowden, please.
I would make a motion that we establish a reserve fund of $5,000 annually to support emergency services at the Goderich Airport.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Hickey. Further discussion? Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you. Just a question. Would that be a reserve held in our funds, or what was the intention of that?
CAO, please.
Yes, it would. Keep in mind, they're also asking us for operation costs too. For 2026, they were asking us for $5,000 for operation, but they also asked us for 5,000 annual reserve contributions for future upgrades for infrastructure. Just want to be mindful of that. I want to clarify because I want to make sure we're all on the same page when council's considering that resolution.
Okay, clerk, please, you have a comment?
Sorry, can you just clarify the motion that you intend? Just so that I have the gist of it right, because I'm getting confused with the reserves and operatings and whatnot, so.
I don't think I specifically said for operations or capital expenditures. I just said establish a reserve fund towards the Goderich Airport for use towards emergency services.
Okay, thank you.
We're clear on that? 5,000. I'm going to ask for a vote. All in favor of this? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. So we're good to move on from here. I think, Councillor Snowden, please.
Could I ask the mayor to take a poll to see a straw vote to see if there's any appetite for the council to look at supporting the Maitland Valley Medical Center under a reserve that is specifically our reserve to a lesser amount, say $10,000. Because what we're doing in Lucknow, if we have a reserve there, we need to be fair. And I wouldn't appreciate it very much if we're going to continue to support Lucknow Medical Center and not support the Goderich Medical Center. And yet here we are supporting recreation, which I think is a lower, my opinion, is a lower priority to medical centers. And I would suggest, I can't prove it, but I would suggest that if 53% of our population uses the Maitland Valley Medical Center, then I would suggest that we should be supporting that medical center to at least the same amount as the Lucknow.
Okay, in consultation with the clerk, probably a motion would be appropriate. Would you care to make a motion to that effect, Councillor Snoblin?
Is there any, does anyone have an idea of what the Lucknow reserve is on the medical center?
CAO, please.
Okay, I want to clarify. I think things are getting miscommunicated. We do not establish a reserve for Lucknow Medical. Okay, so there is no Lucknow Medical Reserve. There's a reserve fund sitting there, but that was the money that was fundraised. Okay, so I think we're blurring the lines here, so I just have to clarify there. So we do not contribute into a reserve for Lucknow Medical.
Okay, then I'll just throw out a dollar amount then, and I will make a motion. And again, if somebody wants to amend this motion, I'd be happy to discuss that, but I would like to make a motion that ACW Council establish a reserve fund from the general, just a reserve fund that will be directed towards Maitland Valley Medical Center for future requests made towards capital infrastructure projects.
Would you like to put a dollar amount on that, please?
Yes, 10,000.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Hickey. So the motion, I think we're pretty clear on it.
Yeah.
It's an annual reserve fund of 10,000 for the medical clinic. Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you. Just clarification to Councillor Snoblin. In the report, it said Township held reserve for future healthcare infrastructure projects. And when I read that, I think of equipment. Example, MRI that was here today. Are you putting that motion forward as equipment or facility?
I think capital projects can encompass an X-ray machine like you made the suggestion, but currently right now the medical center is undergoing renovations to establish, there's a name for it, people that don't have a doctor, unattached patients, so that they have a specific area that unattached patients can go to. So that, I believe, I was just at the medical center yesterday and it looks as though it's pretty close to being completed. So that would be an infrastructure project as an example, but I don't want to tie it down to, whether it's an X-ray machine or whether it's building materials to make an addition. What I would not like to see is that it's funded to go towards wages, say, okay?
Okay, thank you for that. Clerk, please.
So just to clarify, when the request comes through for funding and council's considering allocating, you can determine that at that time. So there's no need to earmark that specifically right now.
Okay, CAO, please.
As they indicated in the report, this is a case-by-case basis. So someone's going to have to come to council and ask for those funds. And I'm going back to what Councillor Blake said. I think we're getting in the weeds too much, whether we're putting money reserves for this and this and that, because at the end of the day, it's going to be dealt with in the 2027 budget and 2027 budget. And I hope I said that in 2007. And like Councillor Blake indicated, it doesn't really matter whether it's called this or that. We have general reserves. We can pull from that as long as we keep healthy reserves. You don't have to earmark everything for everything. I think the bigger thing that council needs to pull back in here, today's conversation, is the reserves aside. That's one thing that we can do internally to increase our reserves. I think more, we need to pull it back to what the operating expenses that Goderich is asking us for. I know today we seem to be really absorbed with putting money aside of reserves. We can do that internally. We don't need to do this. But today's purpose, why don't we focus on, are we going to interested in contributing any of those operation expenses for the recreation, the center, the recreation grant, the McKay Center, and the Goderich Airport? So I feel like we're getting down a path that we don't need to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Snowden, please.
Respectfully, though, I would like to, as a council person and with a new council coming in, I would like to have some kind of a framework for the next council coming in, that they would be able to say, oh, you know, we got a request from Town of Goderich for the Maitland Valley Medical Center, and they're looking to put an addition on to the building, and they're looking for funds, and then it saves the next council when staff can say, well, we have a reserve fund for that. Let's talk about it. And rather than starting the discussion at that point.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor. We're all clear on the motion? All in favor of the motion? And that opposed? And that carries. Thank you very much. Is there anything further? Do we want to address the operational, or we're good with the reserve funds on this? Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, I think if there's a reserve fund there, and I agree with Mark, we can pull the money in wherever we want, but I think that's a good thing. Like if they came to us and asked us for a new x-ray machine or something in that building, I'd be more in favor of doing that. I'm not in favor of trying to own a building. So anyways, I think that's good.
Okay, are we good to leave this topic? Okay, CAO, please.
So for clarification, we've agreed on two motions, one for the airport, one for the medical center, and I looked at clerk to confirm that.
That's correct. So we have a motion to allocate $5,000 annually towards the airport in a reserve, as well as the Maitland Valley Medical in the amount of $10,000.
Further through that, Mayor?
Yes, please.
So that's all fine with ACW putting money in a reserve. I sound like a broken record, sorry. For the medical center and the airport for putting money in reserves for future work that will come back to this council at some point in time saying, hello, we need some money, and we got some money aside. However, I'm going to say it one more time, is the operations, the town of Goderich has asked us for $72,500 or less or more, whatever council decides, for annually contributing to recreation operating expenses. And what I'm hearing from this group at table, that we are not going to contribute any operating cost. And I just think we just need to, if that's the case, that's fine, but I don't want that be forgotten about. But I'm just going to, so I just want to make sure that when we stop this conversation today, this council is not agreeing to give any operation money to any of those four projects. Or
Councillor Snowden, please.
I think that's getting into the weeds when you start contributing towards operational. I believe that we have a responsibility in terms of making progress in terms of the airport and Maitland Valley Medical Center. How it's operated, we can decide to give to it or not with those reserve funds being set up. And that would be up to the council, the next council, to decide. But if the next council wants to put it towards operational, so be it. But the reserve fund is going to be established, and I think that's the most important part.
Okay, just for clarification, to follow up on what the CAO commented on. So we currently contribute $10,000 for recreation, and the decision was to continue with that, not change that. That's an operation. That's an operational on an annual basis. We talked about CPI. That was not agreed on. So the status quo is $10,000 for recreation on an ongoing basis. Clerk, please.
Sorry, a motion was moved by Van Stone, seconded by Blake, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council continue to support as a general contribution for recreation services to the town of Goderich in the amount of $10,000 annually. That failed. So council will no longer be contributing to the recreation. So that motion failed. So the only thing that was established today was that moving forward, there's reserves established for both the airport for $5,000 and for the Maitland Valley Medical Center in the amount of $10,000 annually. So that's the only two things that's moving forward. So that existing, that $10,000 that was contributed for the last 20 years is gone, according to what was decided today. And to that, short of anybody moving anything else, there is no decision. So only the decisions that have been moved, seconded, and carried are what is going to be finalized today.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So is council good with this? CAO, please.
So I just want to, again, I need to clarify. This isn't happening until the 2027 budget gets considered by the new council. Be mindful, Ellen will have as the treasurer in her budget, $5,000 in reserves for the airport, $10,000 in reserves for medical center. The new council can take that out. So she can have it in, but the new council can take it out. So I think we're really doing a lot of talking about reserves when we really don't need to, and the new council can pull from the existing reserves funds. But, and I just want to be certain, and I hear today that council's not interested in contributing to the operating cost of any of those 4 items. So that's my last comment. Thank you.
Okay, that is the consensus of this council. Is that correct? We'll no longer be contributing the 10,000 for recreation on behalf of our residents. Deputy Mayor, please.
Sad but true. The motion for the 10,000 was defeated, so it's not there anymore. So until somebody changes that, which I guess will be the new council and the new budget, we have to march on. Thank you.
Okay, so I think it would be appropriate to have a break at this time. So we will be in recess and resume at 10:35 with item 6.5. Thank you. Okay, we are now resuming our meeting on item 6.5, and that is the Sunset Community Foundation proposal in the ACW Vitality Fund. And I will open it up to comments or questions from council on this. We have received a report on it. Deputy Mayor first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And be honest with you, I'll just go through a bit of history here. I thought this was a good idea for the municipality and everything until Mackenzie said her little statement this morning. And I really took that to heart because it's true, okay? This council, like I know a whole bunch of people, Curtis knows a whole bunch of people, you know your people. So I think we should be the ones that divvy out the money that if we, and as I said, I don't even know, maybe our next council will take that $50,000 that we've got there and say, we don't want that anymore. So, but anyways, I think the council should keep this in their pocket and them give out the money. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Blake, please.
Yeah, thank you. I completely agree. I think it's really important that we have a say in the distribution of the funds. And I also think that it's important that the taxpayer money stays in the accounts of ACW and doesn't get invested elsewhere. I'm going to support staying with the status quo and dismissing the Sunset Foundation. Thank you.
Okay, further comments? Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree. The comment was made about it being a burden to staff and council. And to start up, I can't find it in what report it was, but it was talking about setting up a committee, an 8-person committee. Well, we're a committee of 7 here that got elected to do the job. And I agree with Councillor Blake and Vanstone that to stick with status quo. Thank you.
Okay, is there a sentiment otherwise? Other than that, it will be the status quo and we'll just move on. Okay, and I'll ask for show of hands from council if we're in support of the status quo. And that is supported by council. Opposed? That is carried. Okay, so we're good at that, clerk? 6.5 is the statement of the 2025 statement of Parkland Reserve Funds. It's for information purposes. Do we have any questions on this? 6.7 is the Municipal by Ontario Procurement Directive. It is just a change, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this. Moved by Councillor Blake. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Vanstone seconds that council direct staff to implement the Municipal by Ontario Procurement Directive as required, and further that council delegate authority to the CAO in consultation with the Treasurer to approve exemptions permitted under the directive where the prescribed provincial criteria have been satisfied. Any further questions, comments? Councillor Snowden, please.
When that happens, that the CAO, it's the discretion of the CAO and the treasurer, will that be revealed or made public when, say, for example, the township has to buy a vehicle and you go to a place that doesn't support the Buy Ontario, would that be disclosed? Or is it just, you know, it comes through on the expense sheet and council says yes or no, approves it or doesn't approve it?
Okay, thanks for the question. Treasurer, please.
So it's my understanding that for the exemptions, staff would have to keep records of how we determined that costs would be 25% higher by going with a Canadian or Ontario supplier or supplier of goods or services. The directive, from what I read, it's not clear how the province plans to enforce this program, or I think there's still some things that are not clear there, but there is mention of record keeping, so we will have to, for all procurement, just enhance our record keeping and make sure we're keeping the right documentation on how we're compliant with the new rules.
That was another question, was how does the province, how are they made aware of the directives? It's just going to be strictly your records. It doesn't get shared with the province. Is that correct?
I'll defer to staff for that.
I would assume so. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna have provincial police drive around looking for whether you had the directive or not had the directive. So I have my own opinions on this directive, but I will keep them to myself.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe buy in Canada. I don't know about buy in Ontario because, and I look at Tom for this one. Do we not get trucks from the west and from the east and all over Canada and rather than just Ontario?
Thanks for the question. Tom, please.
Yeah, we put it out and then whoever provides a similar vehicle, we go with that supplier.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, well, and I second this just so we could get discussion on this. But anyways, I'm not real good at the fact that, or good with the fact that the CAO and the treasurer will decide that if we get a truck that's worth $50,000 less from out in Winnipeg, and we don't even see it as a council and on the tender because they've decided to buy the one in Ontario. I'm asking, will this still come back to council with so if we have a truck for $400,000 from Burlington and the same truck for $350,000 from out in Winnipeg, will that come back to council for a decision, or are you guys going to make the decision on that?
Treasurer Ellen, please.
The exemptions are just in the decision-making of the tendering procedure of whether we need to evaluate based on priority for proponents who are using Canadian or Ontario goods and services. It's in the evaluation, so it's not necessarily a decision on awarding a contract. It's just in the evaluation method of the tender. So it's not, to answer your question, yes, all the awards and tender evaluations will still come to council.
Yeah, it's just a matter of who would qualify to put in a tender.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. So we have a motion that's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We have the development charges under 6.8 of the Treasurer's annual statement. And we have a report has been prepared. Any questions or comments before, and just to make this public. So I'll ask, Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, I'd like to see this come back at budget time and for the new council to be aware of what's going on in this particular development charges places, because we're bringing a lot of money from it, and which is all right. But in the same instance, I've had a lot of complaints about it as well. So I would like to see it come back and be talked about at budget time with the new council. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm just reading here that the requirement or direction is that the 2025 annual statement of development charges be supplied to Ministry of Municipal Affairs by the 15th of July of 2026. So this is just a matter of making the charges public. That's the intent of this.
And yes, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I agree with that, but and I'm okay with that one. But I would like to still see it come back. So that if that is as a separate motion, I will make that after this one's been dealt with.
Okay, thank you. CAO, please.
When we go through the municipal training for, councillor training, that'll be all reviewed, and Ellen will go through that with a fine tooth comb with council at that time.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark. I can live with that.
Perfect, thanks. So do I have a mover and a seconder that this just be public? Moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Councillor Snowblin, that the treasurer be directed to make the annual statements, development charges available to the public on the township's website, and further that the treasurer be directed to submit the 2025 annual statement of development charges to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing by July 15th, 2026. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. We have nothing under planning. We have a report from our chief building official for information purposes. Do we have any questions on that report? Seeing none. Under administration, the bylaw enforcement officer report again is for information purposes. Do we have any questions on this? Councillor Snowblin first, please.
One of the questions I had on this was the parking, complaints of parking on a roadway where no parking signs are placed. I know, I think it was Bill, Deputy Mayor Vanstone, that brought this up a while ago about parking alongside the Ball Diamonds in Ben Miller. And driving past there the other day, I think I counted 12 cars parked along the side of the road. Would that have been where this violation or this complaint might have come from?
Thanks for the question. I'll defer to our staff. Clerk, please.
That was not this complaint. These complaints are more in like direct residential areas, blocking driveways, that kind of thing. So. Mhm.
If that's the case, I may bring up something under new business then along the parking along the Ball Diamonds and Ben Miller then, unless.
I can speak to it.
Yeah.
So as part of our process in the spring, staff do reach out to recreation and to the ball leagues and request that they do not park on the hill. We ask that the teams send that out to their, also to the visiting teams. It doesn't get, as I can tell, it doesn't get adhered to. The next step is requesting the bylaw enforcement officer to go out on a Thursday or whatever day a week it is and to lay tickets.
Mhm. Okay. And
Okay.
another question on the bylaw enforcement, can someone talk a little bit about the short-term rental complaints that came in? If anything that could have been resolved through the new licensing?
Thank you. Clerk, please.
So the program has just been, enforcement started May 1st on the program. So we're currently starting to get some complaints in. The process is we receive the complaint, we get in contact with the owner of the property. If they are not registered as short-term rental owners, we ask them to register, giving them a deadline and to go, to sign up. If the complaint is based on noise or whatnot, then those complaints get followed through with. So we're just starting to get into those kinds of things right now. So again, the goal is compliance, not necessarily fines.
Right. I guess where I
this
was
point.
coming from,
Mhm.
I was wondering if there was a gap that we maybe omitted in our discussions over the course of that year when we developed that
Mhm.
licensing program. And I think that was the purpose of a review in a year from now on that topic.
Okay, clerk, please. Thank
So
you.
we're keeping a list of some items that are coming up that are being flagged. We're keeping a list for review when it comes time. I think staff will bring this forward probably in the winter after the new council has been put in, and we'll make a list of recommendations for changes based on the experiences had this year.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions on this report? Seeing none, we have a couple of bylaws regarding the sale of the lots in Dungannon. The first is 9.2, and that's the Dungannon lot purchase and sale agreements. And I will ask for show of hands if council is in support of consideration of this in section 18 as a bylaw. And that is supported by council. Thank you. 9.3 is the Dungannon deeming lot bylaw. Again, we will consider that in section 18 as a bylaw, and I'll ask for a show of hands if we're in support. And that is supported by council. Thank you. 9.4, annually, the Colborne Cemetery service is held, and there is a representative of council that would be involved in that service. And I will turn to Deputy Mayor Vanstone. Would you be interested in doing that this year?
I would love to. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I'll just ask for show of hands of council in support of Councillor Vanstone doing this. This, perfect. That is supported. Thank you very much for that, Deputy Mayor. We have nothing under water or drainage. Public Works is the Ben Miller Playground Area Accessible Pathways. We've discussed that in the past, and it would be that there would be paving in the amount of $18,600 plus HST, and then stone dust by the parking lot to the west entrance of the Ben Miller Hall at a cost of $900 plus HST. Is council good with that? And I will ask for a show of hands if we're in support. Do you have a comment, Councillor Blake, please?
Yes, I do. Thank you. With the two options of asphalt or stone dust for the B path alongside the building, talking to the committee members and the community members there, I would request that we would go with the asphalt for that. Although it might not meet accessibility standards because of the slope, I think it's still more accessible than a stone dust pathway. Thank you.
Okay, so full well knowing it would not meet accessibility standards. Clerk, please.
From an accessibility standpoint, I've gone through an audit before. It's not fun. I wouldn't recommend that council proceed knowing that it would not meet accessibility guidelines. They would have the authority to tell us to rip it up. And I wouldn't be inclined to support that.
Okay, Councillor Blake, please.
Thank you. So it meets accessibility guidelines with stone dust. That's correct then?
Clerk, please.
My understanding is with the technicality of it, an asphalt pathway, like if you had a wheelchair, it would go down a lot faster than say with walking. I think there's a, I don't have the technical terms, I'm sorry, but like the grip of being able to use your feet on stone dust is better than on asphalt. It's less slippery, I guess is maybe the word.
So yeah, just for clarification, it would be accessible with the stone dust and there would be a problem.
Apologies, yeah. From my understanding, it wouldn't be accessible either way because of the slope, and that's why I was referring to going to the asphalt route. But if it is accessible with stone dust and unaccessible with asphalt, then I would support stone dust.
Yeah, that is correct, what you just said, yes. Okay, so I'll ask for a show of hands if we're in support of this as a council. And that is supported by council. Thank you, and thank you for the question. 12.2 is the Westmount Line Sidewalk and Paving, where it's the final project stage of this, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this. Deputy Mayor Vanstone moves, Councillor Snowblin seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council award the tender for the Westmount Line Sidewalk and Paving contract to Lavis Contracting Company Limited in the amount of $588,697.61 plus including HST. Questions, comments? All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Committee reports. Do council have any committee reports that they would like to share at this time? And I'll go first, Deputy Mayor Vanstone.
Yes, and this maybe should come up in a different area, and somebody, the CAO, can and direct me if I'm wrong. We purchased the paved area up in Dungannon from West, whatever the hell, they're the insurance company. And anyways, they're having trouble with parking, because people are parking on the street on both sides, and the cars are going through when they have their dues on Friday night. Because we were up there on Friday night and we parked in the street, and you had to walk across, and it's kind of and nobody's using this area. And they were wondering, I'm getting here into this, if we couldn't promote the fact that you can park in there and maybe even put some lines in there. I don't know. I'm throwing this out to council, and this could be the wrong place to bring it up, but if it isn't, I will bring it up in a later date.
Yes. CAO, please.
I think we could bring that staff report for new business.
Yeah, I think new business would be a more appropriate place for this, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, any other committee reports? Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Dungannon Community Alliance met June the 3rd. This past Friday evening, June the 12th, was their Fry Supreme night at the food truck with a cornhole tournament, which was very successful. June 27th coming up, student is the end of the school year night for them, and school students get $1 off their purchase at the food truck, and that's their funnel cake night at the food truck. So a little bit of fun for end of the school year. July the 3rd, there is no food truck. It's attending the rodeo that weekend, so it will not be on the main street on the Friday night. And the children's market coming up through the summer. Right now, we have 4 children committed for tables in the July and August children's market. Thank you.
Perfect. And the food truck is a real hit. It's great. Thank you for that report. Any additional committee reports? Councillor Forster, please. Okay, thank you. Any additional committee reports? I did attend the first anniversary of the McKay Center on the 4th of June, and it was both well attended, and I was asked to make comments at it. And it is a great thing for the residents of ACW that live in that area, and they really do support it. And we're fortunate to have it in our municipality. I then was asked to make comments at the Great Storm presentation at Kingsbridge a week ago, and it is a great show that the residents really are involved in and do a tremendous job, and has been really well attended. I then was asked to make comments at the Huron County Pride Festival in Goderich on the 6th of June, which I did, and then attended the celebration of the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority luncheon at Brussels at Four Winds on the 9th of June. And they certainly appreciate the support that ACW has given them on that. And things will change in the Conservation Authority world, and our attendance is well noted. With that, is there anything that anyone would like to bring up under new business for a future meeting? Deputy Mayor first, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to go back to what I was saying before, I'd like to get a staff report then if we could enhance the parking in Dungannon, because as Councillor Evan Hickey said, it's going really well for them, but they are having a problem with parking, and some of the neighbors are kind of upset that if you park on their lawn. So, and that is there. It's paved. It would be a perfect spot for parking if we could do that. Thank you.
Okay, so that'll be a staff report for a future meeting. Okay. Additionally, Councillor Snowblin, please.
Thank you. Given my comments earlier about the parking on Lonsborough Road at Ben Miller in front of the Ball Diamonds, and my recent observation on that, I wonder if it would be prudent for us to ask staff to prepare a staff report on how we can deal with that, whether or not we go towards calling the police services to monitor that a little more closely, or if we go to the ball teams to ask them to try to enforce it a little further before we have to take steps towards other means of enforcement.
Okay, so that'll be for a future meeting also, okay? Additionally, Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have changes coming with recycling and the garbage pickup coming up this summer. And I'm hearing a lot of comments from people in the public about the options that we have. We have two options for garbage, curbside and landfill, but we only have one option for recycling, curbside. And so I'd like a staff report back on the possibility of having a waste management recycling bin placed at the landfill as a second option for that. Thank you.
Okay, a staff report on that. Okay. A show of hands if we're in support of that. And that is supported by council. Thank you. Councillor Forrester, please.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. This is on funding for Goderich. I don't like how things went today. I think we should discuss it more. I don't know if everybody else is in favor of that.
So, clerk, please.
So in order to reconsider, we would have to do a reconsideration. So, Councillor Forrester, you can request reconsideration for this agenda item, and then at the next meeting, we would have a motion to reconsider. That's how that process would work. So then we would need, well, it would be a bit tough. Anyway, I'd have to look into it, but we will put that on the next agenda if council agrees that, well, I guess backtrack, you're providing notice that you're going to request reconsideration, which doesn't necessarily need council to agree to that right now. So are you wanting to have that reconsidered at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I will put that on the agenda.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, please.
Yeah, and with a reconsideration, does Wayne have to get 2/3 of the vote to make it pass?
There were a number of motions that were passed, so it would really depend on which one. So I'll go talk wants to have put back on the agenda. But ultimately, it's a 2/3 majority, and someone who voted with the majority would have to move it. So someone who defeated a motion would have to move it. So I will articulate that in a staff report on what the process is, and I will talk to you to confirm which one you would like to bring back. Okay? Thank you.
Okay. Anything additional under new business? I would ask that for a future meeting, we consider a sign bylaw in our municipality. I don't believe we have one currently, and I believe it would be an appropriate agenda item for discussion for a future meeting. Would you, CAO, please?
Can you clarify what you mean by signed bylaw?
Yes, we have received, all of us on council, various concerns regarding some signage in our municipality, and we have no bylaw to do anything about it. And so the comment would be for a future meeting, discuss whether we should have a signed bylaw or not. CEO, please.
To clarify that, we only have jurisdiction over municipal roads, and I think the particular one you're talking about is a highway, so I just want to clarify that.
Clerk, please.
Sign bylaws don't necessarily regulate what's on a roadway. They can also regulate what's on a building or on someone's property. So I guess what we could provide, and as part of a discussion at a future meeting, is provide some samples of other municipalities that have signed bylaws and what those look like, and if there's any appetite for ACW Council to adopt one.
That's fair enough. For an explanation, Deputy Mayor, please.
Yeah, I just want to, I know who we're all talking about, and I don't think we need to go into a whole lot of stuff over one bad apple, so I'm not in favor of it at all. Thank you.
So I'm going to ask for a show of hands of council if we are in support of this agenda item for a future meeting. Show of hands if we're in support, please. Opposed? It fails. Thank you. Anything additional? Seeing none, there's nothing for correspondence for direction. We do have correspondence for information of the Dungannon Community Alliance and the Dungannon Wellness Fair. Any discussion on either of these? AMO Conference, 16th to the 19th. Councillor Miltenberg and myself have registered for that. We do have some bylaws, and the first would be 18.1, and that is the sale to Amanda Nicole Hawk, and I would ask for a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Blake moves, Councillor Forrester seconds, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 35-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the sale of municipal lands to Amanda Nicole Hawk, being all the property described as Part Lot 88, Plan 229, West Wawanosh, and Lot 89, Plan 229, West Wawanosh, being designated as Part 2 on the Plan 22R-7523, being a part of PIN 41083-0037 in brackets LT, and then it now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally passed the 16th day of June, 2026. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. 18.2 is a sale to Wesley Edward Boys, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Hickey and Deputy Mayor Van Stone seconds, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 36-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the sale of municipal lands to Wesley Edward Boys, being all the property described as Part Lot 144, Plan 230, West Wawanosh, being designated as Part 3 on Plan 22R-7061, being part of PIN 41084-0066 in brackets LT, and Lot 145, Plan 230 West Wawanosh, being all of the PIN 41084-0067 in brackets LT, and then it now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally pass the 16th day of June, 2026. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you for that. And 18.3 is a sale to Anthony David Snyder, and a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Snowblin moves, Councillor Blake seconds, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 37-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the sale of municipal lands to Anthony David Snyder, being all the property described is Lot 87 and part of Lot 88, Plan 229 West Wawanosh being designated as Part 1 on Plan 22R-7523, being part of PIN 4103-0037 in brackets LT, and that it now be read severally a first, second time, and third time, and finally passed the 16th day of June 2026. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. 18.4 is a deeming of Dungannon lots, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for this, please. Deputy Mayor Vanstone moves, Councillor Hickey seconds, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 38-2026, being a bylaw to deem certain lots not to be lots within a registered plan of subdivision, and then it now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally passed the 16th day of June 2026. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. We do not have a closed session today, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw, please. And that is moved by Councillor Blake, seconded by Councillor Forrester, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 39-2026, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Council meeting held on June 16th, 2026, and that it now be read severally a first, second, and third time, and finally pass the 16th day of June 2026. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. And a motion to adjourn. Councillor Forrester moves, Councillor Hickey seconds, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council does now adjourn to meet again on the 14th of July. We have one meeting in July at 9 a.m. or at the call of the mayor. All in favor of the motion? That is carried. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much to everyone for your input.